What is the most messed up thing someone close has confessed to you? Baby trapping her husband. They were having marital issues and she really wanted kids, but he wasn't sure if he was ready to be a father or if their marriage was stable enough to bring children into it. She stopped taking her birth control and didn't tell him, hoping that if she were to just get pregnant by accident he would realize he was ready to be a father and also realize how much he loves her and wants to be a family and wants things to work. So far it's actually working out how she wanted it to, but I can't imagine it would continue to if he ever found out she was trying to get pregnant purposely when he had been clear he wasn't ready and wanted to work on their marriage. My ex-coworker casually told people at lunch that her teen daughter accused coworker's husband of molesting her. Many people were mortified and told coworker to take it seriously, but she kept saying her daughter was lying and manipulative. Less than 2 months later her husband was arrested for assault of a 16-year-old. My father-in-law was a wonderful man. He passed away 2 years ago. The woman he was married to was not so great. She told me that when she got together with my father-in-law she hated the dog he had, so she had it put down and then placed it in its bed and pretended it died of natural causes. I told my husband, but we didn't have the heart to tell my father-in-law. When he passed away she took everything and we haven't seen her since. How did your father-in-law pass away? In his sleep? Beside the woman who so happened to take everything and run? Is it possible she murdered him? It is kind of a long story, but yes, we 100% blame her for his passing. She had him wait over 24 hours before taking him to the hospital, and she took him to the hospital he was transferred out of 3 months prior, small town, not equipped for his level of care, because that's where she worked. Then for some reason she was allowed to do all his blood work because she was the pathologist on shift, and boom, he was gone. We couldn't get a lawyer to take the case and she had him cremated as soon as possible. My cousin told me about all the fucked up shit his grandmother and mother have done to him. His grandmother stole money from his father's death inheritance. Both his mother and grandmother told him that he should commit, and his grandmother even said he should be dead just like his father. A former coworker hooked up with a random guy and got pregnant with twins. Several months in she reached out to the guy, and after they chatted more he mentioned being mildly autistic. Her response was to start buying every pill and drug she could off the street to try to miscarriage the twins that were pretty far along because she refused to have autistic children. What ended up happening though is it didn't work and she permanently fucked up those kids for life. They were born underdeveloped and have a ton of medical issues. No clue why she decided to tell us that. I can't imagine how their dad felt. Holy fuck, I would be taking that to the grave. So does she have custody of those kids or did she put them up? She has both twins and 2 other children she had before them. None of them have a father for support. I had a friend of a friend who did something similar but not to this extent. She rarely drank and didn't do any drugs. My friend didn't want to take her back because honestly, in all the years she's been with him, she's made him miserable. She's the, if you leave me I'll end myself type. Anyway, after he wouldn't take her back, she decided the best thing to do was become an alcoholic and take party drugs. That'll show him she must have though. Daughter came out super underdeveloped and had to live with a feeding tube for at least 3 years. She moved away a few years back, so I'm not sure if that child is still living like that. You're an idiot, Anna. Her brother had raped her, got her pregnant, and she had an abortion at the age of 13 or 14 years old. She told me this at her birthday party where a group of her friends, me included, stayed at her house, and guess who was there having just gotten out of prison? But in better news, she grew up, got herself out of poverty, got into shape and is now a doctor. Wait. She invited said brother to the party? No, this was in high school, they still live together. I truly hope she was able to get the support she deserved and heal. She's a doctor now. Not extremely fucked up, but a guy I used to work with went out drinking with work people on a Friday night. At the bar he was laughing about how he was supposed to be at the hospital with his newborn baby and the mother. It was mind-boggling that someone would not only do this, but tell people about it openly as they expected everyone else to be cool with it. Both times I had delivered in the hospital, husband went across the street to the bar to have a drink or two. Since he was a physician at that hospital and didn't want to be there if he wasn't working, he forced me to leave early both times and go home with little support because he was tired. I had a C-section with the second and left 18 hours after surgery. A decade later, I can see how wrong this is. He wanted to have kids with me and then when they grew up, sleep with them. Last time I talked to him. What the fuck? That was also my response. One of my best friends broke down telling me they are into CP. I am very mad at them for putting this on my conscience. It just happened and I'm panicking. Help. Get him help. In Germany there are special groups like Alcoholics Anonymous for pedos. It's called Ich will kein Täter werden, which translates to, I don't want to become an offender, where people with these tendencies get help from psychologists or therapists. Maybe there is something similar where you live? Turn him into authorities. If he's looking at CP he already is an offender. That's absolutely disgusting and your friend should never be around children. Even if you have to do it anonymously, please turn your friend in. I'm always there to help, which is why they told me. This situation is making me cry. Fuck, why? My former boss and close friend at the time admitted to having an ongoing sexual relationship with his adopted daughter. They adopted her at age 14, and he contends that nothing sexual happened before she turned 18, as if that makes it much better, but that timeline never added up to me. I'm pretty sure it started when she was 16 or 17. The adopted girl took the brunt of the blame, got kicked out of the house, while she was still 18, I believe, and he and his wife are still married, living in the same house. We're no longer friends. To respond to the girl getting the blame, the wife accused the girl of seducing her husband. The wife might have been more a piece of shit than him. To conclude, I eventually left the company. I could not trust or respect him after this. I've had several run-ins with his wife over the years, ranging from her disdain towards me to flat out accusing me of ruining his company and their family. I ended up moving around and up in the industry we were in and now making twice as I was back then. I saw the girl once, several years ago, but didn't get a chance to talk to her. I hope Lori is doing well. My mom recently told me that for the last few years that she and my dad were together. 30 years ago, she slept with a knife under her pillow because he kept an axe next to the bed and threatened to murder her in her sleep. Sadly, it's not even the most fucked up thing she's told me, but it's the one I can't get out of my head. My grandma slept with a gun under her pillow and I knew 100% it was because of my grandpa. They slept in different rooms too. She said it was for protection and that they slept in different rooms because they had different sleep schedules. He slept in the basement and she slept upstairs. We all knew the reasons. Both of them were crazy. Mine slept with a shotgun in her bed even after he died just in case he faked his death because she was just that afraid of him. As a kid I was told it wasn't loaded, but when I got older and brought it up once, I was informed it was 100% loaded and the reason we weren't even allowed in the house after she went to bed. Which I hadn't even realized that part was a thing until it was pointed out to me, but damn, it made a lot of things suddenly make sense. My ex used to spike his friends' drinks with ecstasy, claiming, I just want them to be happy and have fun. Fucked up people justify things in the weirdest ways. Yeah, they do. I didn't believe that claim anyways, and there is definitely more to it. Had a nymphomaniac for a boss who was also a sadomasochist, and one night she got drunk and told me she actively seeks out websites with real gang rape and snuff videos and climaxes to them harder than any sex she's ever had. She also told me that when she was 14 or 15 she had a boyfriend who was in his late 20s and a deadbeat dad who forced her to do many things, including that she did not want to do, but instead of being someone who hates anything related to that, she enjoys being beaten and strangled during sex because that's how she deals with the trauma. Jesus fucking Christ. That's some deep dark shit to come out at happy hour. Yeah, I've seen and heard some crazy shit before, but that one takes the cake. The only reason the whole conversation started was that she said that I look like a kinky person. I said yes I am and can be, but I've got limits, and I mentioned that I had once stumbled on a site with extreme content, like necro, and knives being used type shit, and she was like, oh yeah, I go there all the time, and that's when she told me all that. That's horrible, hope she's going to get some help. I brought up the fact that maybe she ought to consider therapy, and she just cackled and said, only therapy I need is someone to bend me over a bed, smack my ass and fuck me until I pass out. I believe she's married now but in an open marriage, so she can still fuck random dudes that will do things to her that her husband won't. It's been about 3.5 years since I've talked to her. Last year my brother told me he's been sexually attracted to me for 2 decades. We haven't talked since. Wow, how did that come up? We were drinking a few beers and catching up and he just blurted it out suddenly. I honestly thought he was kidding at first. Yikes. You don't go back from that conversation. And we still haven't. He keeps trying though and has brought my mom into it for the sake of guilt tripping since I never told her what happened. A bold move, really. Not one thing in particular. But as a gay guy, I've had 3 female friends that felt comfortable enough to confess they were raped. It's so fucked up that it's as common as it is. Yeah, I'm a criminal defense lawyer, and during jury selection for a sex case we had a panel of 60 jurors. Probably 20 of them had to be let go because they were victims themselves of SA. Very eye-opening stuff. When I was in college, I had a relationship with a student that lived in the same house as I. She had formerly been in a relationship with another guy who also lived in the same house. A lot of people knew that he had accidentally killed his best friend in a hunting accident some years before. He was exonerated after the investigators concluded that it was indeed an accident. She told me that when they were together, he told her that killing his best friend was not at all an accident. In college, on a friend's co-ed camping trip, a guy tried to touch me while I was sleeping. I played possum, and luckily, that kept him away. I told my girlfriends the next day, and one girl told me it wasn't a big deal, guys did that all the time when they had too much to drink. She knows this cause her cousin did that to her all the time growing up. Yeah. I felt more sorry for her than myself. Plymouth State University? In New Hampshire. Yes, PSU. How did you know? I guessed based on the living situations of the couples I know from there that had that dynamic. I personally wasn't a student, but I also wouldn't be surprised if my psycho ex from PSU admitted to this. Years 2012, 2014 would be when I was hanging around the campus. That's one hell of an impressive guess. This was a few decades before you were hanging out there. The house was located on 125 S Atherton St. close to the intersection of Atherton and College Avenue. It shared a wall with a small movie theater next door. The theater was named the State Theater. I never lived in a house like that before, and I hope I never do again. My room was large, but it had no windows. The first night I spent there, I woke up in a panic attack, sweating profusely. I moved out of there 3 months later. A couple of months after that, the guy who took my room after I moved out was killed in an automobile accident. Also, I came to find out later that a year or so before I moved in, 2 people were accidentally locked and trapped in the basement. This happened just as everyone was leaving to go home for Christmas. The house was otherwise empty. They were trapped there for about a week. One of them died from thirst. I truly believe that if I hadn't moved out when I did, I would have been the one killed in an automobile accident or some other mishap. Years later, when I came back to State College, Pennsylvania, to visit, I saw that that house and the movie theater had been torn down. It had been replaced by a Holiday Inn parking lot for the new hotel that had been built after I'd left town. Very good riddance. Not the most messed up thing compared to the other comments here, but still messed up nonetheless. A former friend married her long-term boyfriend, cheated on him 6 months later, got pregnant with the guy, divorced her husband and had her baby daddy move in. They got married a year later. She essentially replaced her husband without missing a beat and acts like he's been here the whole time. I stopped being friends with her because she has a history of unstable behavior like this. Oh, and she named her baby after the guy that gave her herpes in college. One of my ex-best friend's mother is having sex with her daughter's boyfriend. Real story. She is known for cheating her husband, but this went too far. How do you get that far that you are actually known for cheating on your husband? I've seen cases where the partner knows that he's being cheated on, and chooses to continue as nothing happened. I remember a quote this woman posted: "If you're in love with 2 people, choose the second one." So the sign's been there for maybe a decade as far as I remember, lol. After my grandfather on my dad's side died, one of my cousins released that my grandfather has been a long-time cheater. As long as I had known him, my grandfather had been involved with this woman who was his girlfriend. They had been together for as long as I could remember. In the 70s, my grandmother had died of an accidental overdose of insulin. She was type 1 diabetic. What had actually happened is that my grandfather had been cheating on her for years with this woman who was still his girlfriend. My grandmother knew and finally couldn't take it anymore and had taken her own life. It definitely explained why my dad had such a poor relationship with his family. It was an open secret, but no one would acknowledge that what my granddad had done was wrong. Apparently my grandmother was crazier than a shithouse rat, and the family did not really like her. Still doesn't excuse it. One of the girls I dated in high school told me she was raped by her stepbrothers and their best friend when she was 10 and they were teenagers. My wife's ex-husband orchestrated a gang rape to which led to her becoming pregnant with her second child. One of the guys that was involved offed himself, and that's the one my youngest stepson looks like. Her ex and his friends have copies of the tape that they keep for blackmail in case she ever tried to report them. They would make more copies and send it to her co-workers and family. Please put him behind bars. The shame she would feel of her family and coworkers and family seeing it is too great. I have told her just forget it and put the bastard behind bars, but she's too afraid of the guilt and shame. I went to high school with a guy that was adopted from India when he was a teen and he didn't know English, so he was put in 2 grades back. He was 20 as a senior, and got expelled when this girl, who was known to be a compulsive liar, accused him of threatening her with a screwdriver in wood shop and trying to grape her. People generally believed her because he was known to creep on 14-year-old freshmen. That same summer, I was at a concert and I happened to spot him in the crowd, so I felt compelled to ask what happened. I figured he would default to, "It isn't true," since he didn't even know me. "Nope," he said. He held the screwdriver to her jugular and tried to get under her skirt, but she fought back. He thought it was bullshit that he was expelled when he didn't even grape her. He thought failing to successfully assault her negated the entire attempt. I was 15 then, and to this day it's the most fucked up piece of honesty that anyone's ever dropped on me. Portrait at a prisoner of war camp in Vietnam. The guy was insanely brilliant, like a mad scientist, and actually had a PhD, confirmed by HR, but was very disturbed and could only hold down a security guard overnight job. I was warned to never to cross him, and no matter what I always was nice, even if he was being mean or petty about some issue. A few of the guys had known him for years, said he was a bomb-making expert in Vietnam, and joked that one day one of the buildings might go up if someone pissed him off enough. Dark humor. Years later I saw him and he apologized if he had ever done anything to offend me. He hadn't. He then starts to say he had finally sought professional help to work through his issues, and then starts to tell me all this crazy stuff he'd been through, which I don't even want to repeat. It was strange because he seemed almost relieved to be sharing all of that information, but I'm assuming he'd kept it inside for so long it was almost liberating to now have control over it and not be holding it inside. This, along with many other experiences, has made me so patient when dealing with people. You never know what they have been through. After my grandpa died, my mom told me that her and my aunt were molested by him when they were kids. My mom told me something similar when my grandfather was dying. I was left alone with him a lot as a child. He never did anything to me, nothing even remotely creepy, but it still fucks me up that my mom left me alone with her abuser and she refuses to discuss it. Denied even telling me about it, though she did not deny it was true. This one hits hard. My mom told me that my uncle used to abuse her, but then she also left me to live with him and my grandparents during my childhood. Nothing ever happened to me. My uncle was a nice person. What really bothers me is the idea that she would leave me as a little girl around someone who, according to her, was a rapist. Even though nothing ever happened to me, I can't forgive her for leaving me exposed to such a possibility. I once went to a barbecue hosted by parents, we will call them Tim and Carol, of one of my son's classmates. They were in grade 3 at the time. It was a no-kid barbecue. A get-together for all the parents to meet and get to know each other. I had already known the hosting couple casually from the school for the last 2 years. We had been friendly and chatty, but not friends as such. As the night wore on, more and more folks got drunker and rowdier. I'm not much of a drinker, so had sat on a chair on the patio watching the fun. Tim sat next to me, fairly drunk, as started to say what a nice person I was and what a pity I was single. I began to brace myself for a drunken proposal, but boy was I wrong as to where this conversation went. Tim said to me I had always treated him and Carol kindly and that he wishes he had a friend like me. I'm feeling uncomfortable and was looking for an excuse to leave, when out of nowhere he said he had a confession to make. I was now getting up and looking to leave. He stopped me and said that he had to tell me his secret. When he was 19 he had murdered his stepfather after he had hit his mom one too many times. He went into a few specifics of what he did with the body, and for the last 16 years everyone thought that the stepfather had run away. No one suspected that he had murdered him. I just sat there. What the hell do you say to that? Did some digging and asking around, and the widely accepted story is the stepfather had just disappeared one day in the middle of the night, leaving every belonging behind. Mom and sister say the stepdad must have run away. Don't think they have any idea of the truth. Edited for clarification and to answer some questions. What did I do after he told me? I was blindsided and my brain was trying to understand what was said. I just said that sounds awful. And up and left. Saw him at school on the following Tuesday and he seemed to not remember. Clarity, he never mutilated the body etc., rather just how he got it out the house, and where he dumped it etc. Also the mom and sister seemed to have no idea, they think the stepdad just left. I think they were far too relieved to ask any questions. Did I go to the cops? No, I had spent enough time around this family, Tim, his mom, and sister too, to see that they were good people, but definitely had residual trauma. Tim was a very outspoken advocate for women and children. I had heard stories in the talks he gave of what abuse his mom, Tim, and sister had suffered. The abuse was awful, and I can see how a 19-year-old kid would reach a snapping point of feeling helpless one too many times. And while I don't advocate murder or vigilante behaviors, I do have empathy, and I can also understand how something like this could happen, and how if I was in that situation of fear, pain and absolute hopelessness, perhaps I would do something similar. In all the years since, I have never known him to be anything but kind and loving to his family. He physically and financially takes care of his mother and sister. I know I'm not a judge and jury. I made the decision I wasn't going to ruin lives that were already suffering. Am I in danger? No, this happened many years ago. Our kids have graduated high school now. Do I think he was lying? Of course there is always that possibility, but judging from every interaction I had with him before and after, I don't think so. He was never a boaster and was always pretty humble, even regarding his wealth and accomplishments. Also, this is South Africa. Cops aren't interested in an old case. Hell, most aren't interested in an ongoing crime. Getting rid of bodies here isn't something terribly hard to do. I love my country, but our police force is woefully undertrained, grossly underpaid, and very understaffed. Resources are lacking too. Not totally unusual to hear of a station with no water or electricity. Many have only one working vehicle per 3 to 4 on-duty cops. The list goes on. I must have a tell me your secret face. As I have been told some real doozies by people, some virtual strangers, in my life. More questions. Did you say, "That sounds awful," in referral to the murder or his stepfather's abuse? Also, how did he get the body out of the house without his family noticing? How did he even kill his stepfather? Where did he dump the body? Awful to all of the above. Just the whole situation and end result is beyond comprehension. A brief synopsis is that after the stepfather had gotten very drunk, beat everyone and rampaged through the house, breaking things, waving his gun and threatening lives, yet again. He passed out on the couch. Tim, mom and sister had gone to bed after cleaning themselves and the house up. Tim woke up early hours of the morning and walked through the lounge and saw him sleeping there. He said he hated him so much that before he knew what was happening, he had taken a large heavy ornament and hit him twice on the head with it. He freaked out when he realized what he had done. Checked for a pulse and couldn't find any. He said he sat in the dark for about an hour crying and contemplating taking his own life, but realized that there would be no one to look after him, mom and younger sister. He put the body in the stepdad's truck and drove it to a local unused water-filled quarry, pushed the truck over the edge, walked home. He said that it was the worst walk of his life. He is most definitely traumatized by it all.